Taiwan and the Philippines may look like just small pieces on the global map, but in the eyes of both China and the United States, they're two of the most valuable pieces in the entire Indo-Pacific chessboard. Their location, economy, political alliances, and strategic significance make them the focal point of one of the most intense geopolitical rivalries of the 21st century. Let's start with Taiwan. For China, Taiwan is not just another island. It is a deeply emotional and political issue tied to national identity. The Chinese Communist Party views Taiwan as a breakaway province that must eventually be reunified with the mainland, even if it means using force. In Beijing's eyes, Taiwan's continued separation challenges the legitimacy of the Chinese state, and its very existence as a thriving democracy on China's doorstep undermines the party's claim that authoritarian rule is the only way forward. But it's not just about politics. Taiwan is the beating heart of the global semiconductor industry. Companies like TSMC produce the most advanced microchips in the world, chips that power everything from smartphones and cars to artificial intelligence systems and military hardware. Control over Taiwan's chip production would give China unprecedented leverage over the world's most critical technology supply chains. At the same time, the U.S. is determined to keep Taiwan out of Beijing's hands for the very same reason. Losing access to Taiwan's semiconductor technology could cripple American tech dominance and hand a massive strategic advantage to China. Then there's geography. Taiwan sits right in the middle of the first island chain, a natural barrier of islands stretching from Japan down to the Philippines that acts as a containment line against Chinese naval expansion into the wider Pacific. If China were to take Taiwan, its military could project power far beyond its current limits, threatening U.S. allies like Japan and the Philippines, and potentially challenging American dominance across the Pacific. Now shift focus southward to the Philippines. This Southeast Asian nation, made up of over 7,000 islands, might not produce the world's most advanced microchips, but its location is pure gold in military and maritime terms. The Philippines sits at a key crossroads in the South China Sea, one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Trillions of dollars in global trade pass through these waters every year, including vital oil and gas shipments to countries like Japan, South Korea, and China itself. For China, controlling or heavily influencing the Philippines would help secure its claims over the South China Sea, where it has built artificial islands and military bases despite international court rulings against its territorial claims. Dominating this region would give Beijing a massive economic and military advantage, allowing it to control sea lanes and natural resources like oil, gas, and fisheries. For the U.S., the Philippines is equally valuable. It is a treaty ally under the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, which means Washington is obligated to defend it if attacked. The country also provides a critical foothold for American military forces in Southeast Asia, allowing rapid deployment in the event of a crisis in the Taiwan Strait or the South China Sea. In recent years, the U.S. has expanded access to Philippine military bases, clearly signaling that Washington sees Manila as a key partner in countering China's influence. The two countries, Taiwan and the Philippines, also share something else in common. They are both democracies in a region where China is pushing its authoritarian model. This makes them important symbols in the broader ideological competition between Beijing and Washington. Supporting them is not just about territory or trade, it's about promoting a vision of the Indo-Pacific where free nations can resist pressure from powerful neighbors. But here's where things get complicated. Taiwan's security and the Philippines' strategic importance are deeply interconnected. In the event of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, the U.S. would likely need to operate out of bases in the Philippines to project power and supply forces. Similarly, Chinese dominance over the South China Sea would make it far harder for the U.S. to defend Taiwan. This is why both nations are at the heart of the same strategic puzzle. Control one, and you shift the balance of power in the entire region. China understands this and has been ramping up pressure on both fronts. For Taiwan, this means constant military drills, airspace incursions, cyber attacks, and economic pressure. For the Philippines, it means maritime standoffs, water cannon incidents against its coast guard, and relentless efforts to erode its control over its own waters. Beijing's strategy is to make it costly and risky for these nations to align too closely with Washington. The U.S., meanwhile, is doubling down on defense commitments, military aid, and deepened cooperation with both. Advanced weapons sales to Taiwan, joint military exercises with the Philippines, and stronger regional alliances like AUKUS and the Quad are all part of Washington's play to contain China's influence. The stakes are enormous. A conflict over Taiwan could spark the largest war since World War II, drawing in multiple nations and potentially disrupting the global economy overnight. A breakdown in Philippine sovereignty over the South China Sea could give China de facto control over one of the world's most critical maritime highways. Either scenario would fundamentally reshape the global order. This is why China and the U.S. are so obsessed with Taiwan and the Philippines. They are not just islands or allies, they are linchpins in the struggle for dominance in the Indo-Pacific. Whoever controls them doesn't just hold territory. They hold the keys to technology, trade, security, and the balance of power in the 21st century. And in a world where superpowers are vying for influence, those keys are worth everything.